How is everybody? So, whenever we bring up race, I guess I'll wait a few seconds. But these 4 documents, and just a few of them, give you a good idea of why it is we talk about race within regards to the city-county merger. Why is it extremely important for us to address the race issue? Whenever we start talking about race, everybody gets all squeamish about it. We say that this is not a race issue. Let me be frank. There is a reason why they talk about race in and throughout this entire document. It's 160 pages, and they reference race pretty often. So when we talk about it, let's not act like it does not exist. We're not talking about racism, but just race in general. You know, it's important to be able to address the reasons why race in itself is within these documents and what they say about it. So they deliberately within here make sure that they dilute black representation, and they actually say, they use the word black, but not necessarily like, you know, I'm saying it, but I'm going to read this to you so you can get a good understanding of what these documents are. So the first thing we need to understand is St. Louis City right now has a population of 48.5% African Americans and 45.9% white. So we have an ability right now to have some real equitable conversations, and it's a toss-up on who wins particular races on statewide, because we have a population that is reflective sometime of the choices that voters make. Just like with our last mayoral election, Leiter won by 1,000 votes. That's kind of reflective of these numbers. You would think that it'd be that close based on the amount of voters that we have and the demographics of the city. Oh yeah, and then 3% Asian. I'm not going to leave out the minorities, and I'm sure we have Latinas and other minorities also. But what does race affect within the merger? The first thing what we want to say is it affects the workforce. Within the documents on page 7, it says another area where our lack of regional cooperation has caused economic hardship is workforce diversity. Why do we need workforce diversity? Obviously because there is a people who is diverse that understand that there is a need for them to have some type of representation because they're not being treated equally. So while St. Louis City and more recently the Metropolitan Sewer District have set thorough and effective workforce diversity standards, St. Louis County is now only beginning to analyze these issues. What does that mean for us? For people who are minorities, what that means is in St. Louis County under this merger, we are only beginning to start the conversations on what equitability looks like when we talk about workforce goals and workforce our lack of workforce diversity. So St. Louis City has been making strides towards doing so. Why? Because our population reflects the demographics of the city and the people who are in political office to a degree. So we've had a voice. Under these new issues, under this new city-county merger combined, we become 30% African American and 65% white and 3.6% Asian. Why are we talking about these things? Why do they have the graph here? I didn't bring this up. I didn't write this up. They put it on page 7, so you can see in the very beginning that race is an issue. It's not just we bringing it up. It really is an issue, right? So workforce diversity in St. Louis City right now is 25% minority, 5% women, and all women are a minority, 20% residents, and 15% apprentices, which means that we take care of our people who want jobs. If you want a good paying job or you want to get into the trade, St. Louis City has set forth ways for you to be included, being a minority. And it's clear. Let us make an understanding of what a minority is. In Missouri, and this is on worldpopulation.com, in Missouri right now our population is 5 million strong. It's over 6 million people. But 5 million of those individuals are white. 703,000 of them are black. 151,000, as you can see, are more racist. Asians are at 112,000, and so on and so forth. So that's why we talk about minorities. Most of the people on this list are outnumbered by the whites in this state, 5-1. So we have to understand, why is it important for individuals to seek out representation reflective of what they need? Yeah, absolutely, Cam, post it up. Why is this important? Because We have to make sure there's adequate job training. What does this say? This is what they wrote. Inconsistent workforce standards don't just affect workers, they affect the entire region's ability to attract and retain job-creating businesses and entrepreneurs. But at the same time, there's absolutely no workforce goals for St. Louis County. Zero. We have tried. We have done what we needed to do. And MSD, all of these things happen constructively, but St. Louis County, under this merger, there are no regional workforce goals. Why are minorities complaining? Why are we talking about the race issues? We'll come back to this also. The governance. What happens to us in reference to us being able to represent ourselves? It's good to understand, once again, what is their intent? This is how you find out what the intent is, because I'm going to take you to a section that deliberately undermines the ability for the city, the metropolitan city collectively, to have a real diverse council, so we can have some real debates, and more than that, we can have some real representation as minorities, because it's, once again, 5 million to 700,000 and so on and so forth. That's a lot. But what this says is a 33-member council is consistent with the lesson that an appropriately sized legislative body is conducive to help form coalitions and foster healthy public debate. Now, I want you to remember that, because they also reference healthy public debate, but it is not consistent with this language here. But let's hear what they talk about in reference to race. 33 council districts would yield district populations slightly larger than the current districts for the Missouri House of Representatives. Based on the task force review, a larger metro council is the best model in which to address the concerns of who? African American political representation in the region. We didn't say that. They wrote this. Why are we talking about race? Because they made it something for us to talk about. So let's go back and finish reading that. 33 council districts would yield district populations slightly larger than the current districts for the Missouri House of Representatives. Based on the task force review, the larger metro council is the best model by which to address the concerns of African American political representation in the region. Recent history, including the election of County Prosecutor Wesley Bell, demonstrates that majority white populations can and do elect African American officials. Now, I'm going to read that again. You really got to hear what that says. It says, recent history, including the election of St. Louis Prosecutor Wesley Bell, County Prosecutor Wesley Bell, demonstrates that majority white populations can and do elect African American officials. Nonetheless, the task force understood that the status quo has not yielded equitable outcomes for the region's black residents. It's right here. They're talking about race. It's the reason why they're talking about race, and has endeavored to ensure that their recommendations offers proportionate representation in the future. Now here's where everything starts to get weird. The task force developed a proposal that can provide not only fair representation, but also the resources required in order for elected officials to be successful in meeting the needs of their constituents and formulating public policy. Now check this out. By recommending a 33-member council, the region is assured the opportunity to elect a legislative body reflective of the demographics of the people it will serve. Who is the people that it will serve? The combined city and county will be 1.3 million people. Those demographics will be 65% white, 30% African American, 3.6% Asian. That's why race is important, because they want this body to reflect the demographics of the actual city, which means representation will be diluted. This also says the leadership of the Metro Council, council president, for example, should be elected from within the body. This assures that the Metro Council leadership has a good working relationship with its members and further enhances the opportunity for minority voice. So once again, they talk about minorities, they talk about African Americans. Race is an issue because it's something that needed to be addressed. Now this says that it addresses it, but we're going to see very, very shortly that it does not. But what they're saying is electing from within gives minorities the ability to rise up in leadership. That's what this says. But once again, we're going to be reflective of 65% white, 30% black. Out of 33 members, we're not looking at having more than 4 or 5. So we're not going to be able to rise up in leadership unless another 25 of our, we just got to say it like it is, 25 whites or an Asian in there says, hey, we will vote for you. That's not real equitability. That's why we talk about race. But let's see and dig into how deeper this goes and how much they actually address the racial issues. Now let's talk about all of this money. In the St. Louis region, $61 million was collected last year. In 2013. Who collected this money and whose pockets did it come out of, right? They want to merge the courts. The courts don't really get merged. They still are consistently, they still move the way that they move right now. There's still 55 independent police departments. Nothing actually comes together. So one big thing, let me take you to this. So St. Louis County, the St. Louis region has $61 million that it collected in Missouri court fines and fees. Let's find out where those fees came from. 21 municipalities in the region produced over 20% of their operating budgets from fines and fees. Of these, 20 are located north of Olive Boulevard and east of I-270 in St. Louis County. The population of these municipalities is 62% African American, while the population of the county as a whole is 24% African American. 22% of those 20 North County municipalities live below the federal poverty line compared to 11% of the residents of the county as a whole, which means all of that money came from those municipalities, a great amount of it. So what are they going to do about changing those policies that exist that got those people into the court so they had to pay fines and fees? We go right here to the key takeaways. What does this say? It says, it was made plainly clear through the elevation grid, steps like St. Louis City re-entering St. Louis County as an additional municipality would fail. They straight up telling us this plan will fail to address critical issues. For example, the city re-entering the county would continue the existence of 55 independent police departments. 55 of them. Police powers are regulated by the state government, and the only way to comprehensively address issues such as consistent standards for police departments would be through state law. Which, once again, everything that they said, the reason that they're doing this falls apart when they actually tell you that they don't even have the ability to make the things happen that they're saying they're going to make happen. So when you flip to the next page, another key takeaway, and this is where they deliberately talk about African Americans and their ability, and minorities in general, their ability to have representation. One key takeaway, one key challenge in creating a new structure of government is ensuring adequate representation for citizens' voices. While it was tempting to consider a smaller legislative body in the interest of efficiency, lessons from other regions indicated that having a larger legislative body allowed for better resident to representative ratios. They said the reason why they said they opted to have a larger legislative body is for better resident to representative ratios, greater diversity, and a body that was appropriately deliberative in crafting public policy. Now here we go. With smaller legislative districts, there is a greater opportunity for ethnic and political minorities to have representative voices elected to advocate for issues. They deliberately say we chose to do the larger legislative bodies, or not even the largest legislative bodies. They went to go with a smaller legislative body in the interest of efficiency. It was tempting to do so, I'm sorry. But let me finish reading this to you, though. With smaller legislative districts, there is greater opportunity for ethnic and political minorities to have representative voices elected to advocate for issues. Caucuses could be formed, and healthy, diverse public debate on regional issues could take place. Now, they just lied and said on this page right here, once again, about them wanting to have healthy public debate. Page, I'm sorry. Right here, it says a 33-member council is consistent with the lesson that appropriately sized legislative body is conducive to help form coalitions and foster healthy public debate. A larger size, right? But then you go right over here and it says the smaller legislative districts, there is greater opportunity for ethnic and political minorities to have representative voices elected to advocate for issues. Caucus could be formed, and healthy, diverse public debate on regional issues could take place. It flat out contradicts itself. It says one thing here, which is what they think they want you to say, and then over here it tells you absolutely not. We're not doing that. We're not going to have healthy public debate. We're not going to make sure that minorities have representative voices elected to advocate for issues, because we are going to have a larger representative body to have resident to representative ratio satisfied. Now, I'm gonna read this one more time so you can really understand it. It says, one key challenge in creating the new structure of government is ensuring adequate representation for citizens' voices, which is the entire reason for this. While it was tempting to consider smaller legislative bodies in the interest of efficiencies, lessons from other regions indicated having a larger legislative body allowed for better resident to representative ratios, greater diversity, and a body that was appropriately deliberative in crafting public policy. With smaller legislative districts, there is greater opportunity for ethnic and political minorities to have representative voices elected to advocate for issues. Elected to advocate for issues. Caucuses could be formed and healthy, diverse public debate on regional issues can take place. So it's flat out telling us, man, that race is an issue, but we're not going to address it. We don't want to address the fact that you all have jobs and the city of St. Louis has actual workforce development goals, and we don't. We're not going to address that. It's telling you flat out, we want the population to be this, and we're going to reflect the government to make sure that it's reflective of the actual population. Then it talks about how we once again are in court disproportionately, but we're going to keep everything the same, and there's no way we can change the policies. When you read, man, it's blatantly clear. This is an attack on minorities, and it's a takeover of the city of St. Louis. We need to make sure that we're aware of what's going on, and you read these things. Continue to educate yourself. Tell your friends, tell your family. We're not going to lay down and take this. And it's not just about black and white, but that is one of the things that we need to talk about. We're going to address race issues in the city at some point in time. We're not going to continue to act like these things don't exist. This is real. So how do we address the contradictions? This is what they want to do. Addressing the contradictions in itself won't even happen. And to tell you why, they're having 4 town halls. Only 150 people can show up. There's over 300,000 people within the city of St. Louis, and they won't even allow 200, 300 people to come in so they can hear what's getting ready to happen within the city. They also are making people RSVP to be able to get into these meetings. That's something to think about. Why are they only having 4? They had over 250 stakeholder meetings. Why are we only allotted 4 as the community? Why are we only allotted 4 at 150 people? That's not healthy public debate. That's not having diverse conversation. That's flat out telling you we want to tell a few people what's going on, and we only need to talk to a few people about how they feel about it, but this is happening. Everybody don't get a chance to listen in on this because you have to RSVP. They can tell whoever they want, nope, you're not coming in. Those are things we got to think about. We really can't change this because they won't come to the table. They are the one making the decisions. They are the ones repealing this and then putting it back out there. They are the ones who put this together without ever asking anybody from our side of town on what we think about it. So we have to have our own action plan, and we have to put things forward to make sure that we see the city move forward the way that we want to, because the current leadership is not ensuring that everybody has a voice in at the table. This can't continue the way that this is. And being realistic, once again, I'm not racist, but I'm gonna say what I need to say, man. I am a black man, and I'm unapologetically black. I've been living black skin my entire life, and I know the issues that we face. I know the problems that exist. I done had guns in my face from the same police officers that are riding my neighborhood, but I understand particular things, so I don't take things particular ways. But there are changes that need to be made. But this ain't the way that it happens. This right here, this ain't gonna help nobody. And it contradicts itself once again throughout the entire document. That's why you gotta read it. And that is why race is important, because they make it important. And they make sure that you have no way out of the situations that we are already in as a region. There's no way out of this. They're not addressing it at all. Quit letting them lie to us and tell us that we're gonna merge these municipal courts. Because there are still, once again, 55 police departments. I just read it. Just showed it to you. 55 that will still exist. 55. But you're talking about putting all the police together, right? How do we have 55 that still exist? All of the policies that exist, they still exist. You didn't take any of those back. Nothing right now that makes this region inequitable in terms of racial diversity or the way people get pulled over, the issues that we face. There's nothing within these documents at all that addresses the core issues within this region. Zero. You won't even make sure that the kids get a good education. I mean, flat out, there's nothing there for us. This cannot be for us. And we have, once again, and I agree with you, Kara, we have to address race if we want to move forward. White people, you can't keep acting like that's not a problem. Black people, you can't keep acting like, real talk, that we don't create issues that make white people not want to address the issues that we need to address. We all have a part to play. We all have things that we need to do to move our region forward. We have to take responsibility. But these individuals who think they got the key to it without ever having conversations with us, they got to go. They cannot continue to be in these positions telling us how our life is going to be, and this is just what's happening, you just going to take it. Who going to take it? It's up to us. Make sure you educate yourself and read these documents, man, because all of these things are issues and they're not addressing them. Race is an issue. It's not going to go away just because we merge 1 million people with 300,000. That's not going to address the elephant in the room. That's not going to address black people getting pulled over. That's not going to address schools being inadequately financed. None of those things are going to address the issues that this region faces. It's still going to be 200 murders in St. Louis. Now, what you don't know is St. Louis is not even a part of the metro city, realistically, when this actually happens. We become St. Louis Corporation. So the St. Louis Corporation by itself, with all these municipal districts, there's still going to be 200 homicides there unless we do something about the core issues within the city of St. Louis that exist that makes this city dangerous from what people would speculate on how dangerous it is. I'm sorry, where can I find them? Where you can find is go to Better Together, and I posted it up a few times. If you go to Better Together and you go to, in fact, I'll show you how to get to it. What you do is you just go to, excuse me, where we at? Get to a new. You go to Better Together, STL, and then you go to the, you go to bettertogetherstl.com. Oh man, I didn't know this. There we go. And then you go to Our Work. Then you go to the recommendations. Then you go to the full report. Do not read this executive summary. That thing has nothing that you need to know, because this is all about giving you the fluff. That's the good things. When you read this, that's the thing. That's everything. And you can't hide what they put in here. They literally laid it all out for us. When you read it, this is not for us. This is for a few people. But the first 40 pages, just so I can give you an idea so you won't be intimidated, it's not 160 pages like they keep saying, and I've said it also. The first 40 pages, that's an actual summary and a reason of why they put this together. But it gives you a lot of information into it, and I was just reading from the actual summary. This is where they talk about the courts, the map that I just showed you, where they talk about the regional workforce goals. They talk about public health, but they straight talk about public health, but they don't have any recommendations other than adding a tax so we can have like a dedicated health tax. Okay, that's not going to affect nothing they was talking about, but I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around, but all of this is here. This is the municipal courts in the St. Louis region where they talk about the municipal courts, fines, and fees. Then when you get to page 40, which is the first few pages, the first 40 pages you can read through, and they'll give you an idea of what it is that I talk about before I talk about the actual constitutional amendment and the language there. But the first 40 pages, after you get to 40, then it's endnotes. It's to make it look intimidating, right? So you get to all the endnotes, you go through those. Don't read that crap. There's nothing there that you need to know. When you get to 45, what's there? Appendix A. Oh, it's a PowerPoint. So it's super thick, man. This thing like this thick when you print it out. But it's straight up a PowerPoint in the middle of it. See that? Straight up PowerPoint. This don't even matter. I read through the whole thing, read it twice. Like, it don't matter. You read through all of that. And remember, we went from page 40 to, let me tell you what to skip. We went to page 40 to 45 is when Appendix A starts. But you can just roll all the way through that and go all the way down. I mean, it's a whole lot too. Then you get to Appendix B. Now this is a town hall summary, right? This is flat out, don't even matter, because they talked about talking to the youth. They talked to 40 youth, 40 people. Oh no, that's not the youth, I'm sorry. This is the town hall discussions when they talked about the town halls, how many people they talked to. They had 270 residents attend the events, and an additional 800 residents responded to questions via online surveys. I would love to see 800 surveys. But we all know they didn't get 800 surveys. Let's be serious. If you only got 270 residents to show up that you allowed in, you definitely ain't getting 800 anonymous surveys. And who's doing these surveys? Like, come on, man. Let's be serious. It's just... Anyway, I'm sorry. But some of this stuff is just like, why? So this is all nothing that... I mean, when I say this is fluff in the middle, sampling, like this is straight up crap. They're trying to convince you in this stuff why it's necessary for us to merge, but none of these are the recommendations. I mean, zero. Then they talk about the youth engagement summary, which is what I was just talking about. They only talk to 40 youth, age 14 and 19, from 27 different public and private high schools. And once again, where they talk about participants were 65% white, 65% female, 35% male, and what is that? 87.5% black, 12.5% white. Listen, they address race. I'm just bringing it up because we need to know exactly what happened after they brought it up. You know, what are we going to be privy to? So these are the key takeaways, once again, from the youth engagement. Either way, none of those things, they don't take any of these people's recommendations and do anything with them, right? So you can keep on scrolling past all of this, because all of it is, once again, it's like a PowerPoint. Those are graphs that you can barely even read because I mean, this is crazy. There's nothing here. Nothing there. Like 100 pages of straight up nothing, y'all. I read it all, so it ain't nothing they hid. Then you get to Appendix E. This is where the meat comes back. And that is a whole new page number. Is this the Metro City finance report? Yeah, it's the finances overview. And I will do a video on finances, and I want to make sure that you all really, really understand these taxes, because God, man, we finna get taxed out so much, especially if you live in the city. But people in the county, you should be worried about taxes also, because the Metro Mayor got the ability to come in and assess your taxes and raise them at will. Just because you ain't got them yet, don't mean you won't be privy to them. They just got some things they want to do first. We don't know what the plan is. And then you got the amendment summary, which is, once again, it's a few pages. And if you want to read the amendment summary, I believe it's 12 pages. Let me make sure. That's the summary of the actual constitutional language. I'm sorry, it's 9 pages. And then you got the constitutional language, which is 22 pages long. So, once again, this document is like, you read the first 40 pages, then you read the constitutional amendment pages. That's 22 pages, that's 62 pages, and then another 9, almost 10 pages. 72, I mean, you read 100 pages and you're good. It's really not, you can do 10 in 10 days and be done with this. I appreciate it. You got John back here too, man. Late nights in this office, man. We trying to make some things happen because they lying to us. I can't even lie. They doing a good job of lying. They really, really are. But we got to do everything we can to spread the truth. So y'all make sure y'all are doing a good job sharing these videos. There are a lot of people that are waking up. This is the very last presidential race on March the 5th in history of St. Louis, if this passes through. There will never be another presidential race. So it's important for you to come out and vote on March the 5th. This is the very, very last one. Make sure you all come out and vote. It's important that you come out and vote this election. This is the very last one, and it will dictate the future, because if somebody get in there that's working with Better Together, that's another person that we got to deal with as far as legislation goes, and they got the power to create laws. Lyda can't make no laws right now. She can influence people to do so, but if we get the wrong person in there for the president of the board of aldermen that's with this, we're going to be fighting legislation every day. I mean, every day. It's going to always be something different, in a different way, a different clause or something they put in there to either tax the people or remove people from where they are. There's a lot going on. You all need to be prepared. But once again, the pages that I'm reading off of, so you'll know, is page 7 and 8. And that's where they talk about the workforce. Page 25 is where they literally straight tell us that they don't want to have healthy public debate for minorities and minorities to have, you know, they don't want us to be represented, man. I'm sorry to laugh, but I'm scoffing at it. This is crazy. The municipal courts page is on page 10. And you got page 27 and 28 where they talk about Wesley Bell. And I want to point this out, man. Whenever you have somebody who says, hey, man, we'll vote for you because we voted for him, that's something to think about. Like, you don't just leave that up to chance? Seriously? No, we don't leave that up to chance. No, we don't say just because you voted for Wesley Bell, you're going to vote for all black people. We know that's just not the truth. You're not going to vote for all blacks just because you voted for Wesley Bell. We appreciate allies and just white people in general who can think outside of race and think for what's best for an actual individual, or what's best for the city as a whole, and not take race as the leading factor. But everybody don't do that. Literally, there are people that are still alive that know what it feels like to go to a restaurant or to get on a bus and it's like a white-only section. There are still people alive today who knows what it feels like to be the first family to move in one of these neighborhoods that was all white and they couldn't live in them because it was redlined. So because those things still exist and we have not addressed race as a whole, even with the banking system, like we have not, the banks, loans, everything, we have not addressed the issues that exist within our region. So you gotta expect things to still be kind of the way that they have been until we address this. You need to be able to share it. You should be able to share it. Everything is shareable. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll send it to you. But it's really, really important for you all to understand why we talk about race. Once again, there are people alive right now. Percy Green is still alive. This man climbed the arch because they wouldn't give people jobs. And what are we talking about right now? We're talking about this St. Louis merger taking us back 50